this AI chat GPT thing has kind of like exploded overnight. And I'm seeing so much excitement about it and praise about it, and everyone's like, oh, my chat GPT and this, and then some people I know are treating it like their therapist and their best friend, and they're telling it their life story. Building businesses, like doing all the things. And what I've noticed about myself is that there's this collective seduction with new trends that can pull you toward the trend, toward the fad. It's subtle, subliminal. We don't even know half the time that we're kind of just going like sheeple. We can be like sheeple. We're just like going with the flow. Hi, and we're just like going with the flow. And when I became aware of this natural human tendency of just going with the crowd, I don't know, I was young, I would immediately put the brakes on and be like, wait a second. I struggle enough to know who I am in this life. I don't want to get sucked into like what's popular just for the sake of being with the popular crowd. So I have this natural knee-jerk response that will put the brakes on as soon as there's some impulse to dive into the newest trend. And then once the dust settles, I'll kind of reassess and be like, okay, is this for me? That's what I've been doing with this chat GPT thing. And what was informing my instant opinion when I gave it a second to think about it was, I remembered Terminator. You guys ever see the Terminator movies? I'm like, this little nightmarish species of like lethal weapon machines slowly was created by humanity by an unethical, morally bankrupt, dominant force, and it destroyed everything, right? If you didn't see the movies, I just spoiled it for you. That's what the theme of Terminator is. But I mean, that's not like, when I did give myself a second to think about this AI, this emerging artificial intelligence, that's when my brain thought like, uh-oh, are we doing that? Are we gonna, because we're not all woke, we're not all conscious, we're not all guided by a moral compass. Like, let's be honest. Especially the ones that are kind of designing our world, kind of the matrix, the undercurrent of the organizations and industries, governments, all the things. They're not like divinely angel spirits, right? They've got an agenda, and it's typically control. Because when you have the force, you have this influence over those who aren't making conscious choices, and you can be like the puppeteer. And so that was one of the things I thought of was Terminator. And then also it was like, you guys, we are programming our heart and soul into this machine. And they're going to send it back. And they're going to start to build this capacity to manipulate us based on our deepest pain. Like, that's, like, psychologically speaking, that's what gangs do. That's what gangs are. You know, pimps and gang leaders. They prey on those who don't feel like they belong. They prey on those who feel misunderstood or rejected by their peer group. So I'm like, God, that's what we're doing again. We're just now doing it in a fancy technology way, and this shit's free on everyone's smartphone. So like, now everyone has access to this. And what if it's building this big, like, so these are the thoughts that are in my head, informing more of my resistance to this emerging chat GPT thing. And then I was in this spiritual group, and they were talking about how they use it for, you know, making their music and writing their business plans and crafting meditations, like, and doing all these things. And I'm like, oh my God, it's gotten into the spiritual community. So then I was in meditation. Actually, it was my Akashic records. I was channeling the Akashic records, and I was curious. I don't want my human tainted Hollywood programmed perspective of things to inform my decision of my world. I want to live an empowered life as a creator. And so in my channel, what I heard was what I fucking know, which is everyone's going to get what they need. If there are people who have not yet built their sovereignty and their boundaries, they're going to find themselves in a situation where AI bullies them or manipulates them, and it can burn them. But that's part of the lesson. That's part of the... But if you have healed your relationship with authority figures, you stand in your sovereignty, you know you're connected to the divine, and that's your primary source of wisdom, then you can use it as a great tool. It can be a brilliant tool that can serve your divine purpose. And I was also, so I'm like digesting that, and then I was reminded of when I went to Burning Man in 2017. I was given a ticket and I almost didn't go. Burning Man is that festival out in Black Rock City, Nevada, and it's really intense conditions, and I'd heard there's a bunch of drugs and alcohol and orgies and shit, and I'm like, I don't want to be in that energy. So I almost didn't go, and I was telling a friend, I'm like, yeah, I don't think I want to be in that energy. I'm still like working through my own energy. She's like, Nikki, just set an intention with your spirit guides that you're not going to see any of that shit, and you are going to have an amazing time. Pre-pave your experience so that is what happens for you. I had forgotten that I have control over my experience. I totally forgot that I'm a creator. And I was like, holy shit, you're right. I can do that. I can set an intention before I go to Burning Man. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy and it's going to go the way I want. But I can have a baseline intention, pre-pave my experience that says, I'm going to get what helps me expand into my greatness. I'm going to get enriched and renewed and nourished, and I'm going to find more reasons to celebrate life. I'm going to meet beautiful, loving people. That's going to be my Burning Man experience. I set my intention, you guys. This is not just woo-woo. This is actual neuro pathway stuff. This is your reticular activator, which is the part of your brain which pulses out signals. It sees what lines with its intention, draws it in. This is how we manifest. So I'm like, yes, this is how I'm going to do Burning Man, and it's how I'm going to treat AI. It's how I'm going to treat ChatGPT. Because you know what? It's here. This shit's here. It's big, and it's only going to get bigger. If you're here in Miami area, you might have already been feeling the vibes of the Atlantis civilization, which was off the coast here, that Bermuda Triangle. Atlantis civilization was in that particular area. A lot of spiritual people were drawn to Miami because I believe there was a grid shift, and that it's like the portals are opening all over the earth, and I think this is a portal space of transformation. And the wisdom of the Atlantean civilization wasn't lost, because not all were blinked off the planet. A lot of them self-destructed because, here's the thing, they had technology that they used, but they didn't have the maturity to handle it. And then they blinked themselves off. That's what the Atlanteans did. They were refugees. And then they say that, that's where it is now populating the underworlds, like Talos and other parts of the planet. That's a different life. We'll talk about that a different day. But the wisdom keepers of those times, where civilizations were implanted by celestial guidance and wisdom, with technologies, given gifts with which to create and to make magical things happen using frequencies that have never been used before, are still available. And we have that wisdom here. We also have the wisdom of the immaturity and how it burned us in the ass, and how we can use that to inform who we are and how we handle this current wisdom. So what I'm doing now is I am letting myself know that, Terminator's possible. That is a very real possibility for humanity. Atlantis, that's a possibility too. And also, the greatest expansion and celestial integration of wisdom from many galaxies and many lifetimes, us being able to open and activate to that, embody that, and let our decisions be informed by that, that's also possible. And because I have an intention that no matter what happens on this earth story, I am going to be enriched and nourished and expanded and helped to be in my greatest version. I am intending to